So welcome back. In today's video, we are going to look at something interesting. We are going to look at something called multidimensional arrays. So in the previous video, we saw that, I can put this back, we saw that you can declare your array, give it the number of things that are going to be inside this array. Then you can insert in some numbers or anything into your array, and you can print out something like this. But what if you have what if you're not dealing with numbers? In this case, we are putting in numbers into this array. What if you are having arrays themselves? How do you see? Let me give you an instance of a school. You can go into a school setting. You can find students. Uh, Inside the students can also have parents like that, and they can have multiple, or a student can have a family, meaning a student is having another group of what? Group of individuals connected to a single student. But you are inside the school and the school is having multiple students. So how do you deal with that? So we saw in the previous video that you can have, come here, you can have this single array, something like this, and it can have like compartments. The example that I gave in the previous video was a train. Let me say this is a train of passengers. Passenger 1 is represented by number 2. Passenger in position 2 is represented by number 8, and the last one is represented by number 1. So how do you access this number 8? We saw that we saw something interesting called indexes, whereby you can access this passenger using his position, whereby you can start counting from 0. In programming, you start counting from 0, 1, then going upwards, meaning this user will be found at position 1. So this is what we call a single dimensional array. It is having one row. So what if you have multiple arrays? What do you use? So we introduce something interesting called a multi-dimensional array. It represents a collection of arrays within an array. So you can have an array, a big array, with multiple arrays inside. So that's what we are going to see today. So I can first remove this. So let's go dive in. So you can have a big array. You can use another color. You can have a big array. You can have this one is, let's see. You can have a big array. You can have a big array. Sorry for the handwriting. So inside this array, you can have multiple arrays. So I can have one array here, one array here. Sorry for the handwriting. Can have the second one, can have the third one. So these arrays, let me say this is an array of numbers. These arrays can have compartments inside. By compartments, I'm meaning it can have things inside. So inside here, let me generate random numbers. Let me say in this first array, it's having 6, second 8, third 1. This can be 10. This can be 2. This can be 4. This can be 3. This can be let me say 13. This can be, let me say 17. Like this, you're having this big array, and in the big array you're having the first row. So you're having the first row, the second row, and the third row, plus you're having your first column, second column, then your third column. Meaning in this case, if we are to represent this using the indexes, this will be at position 0, this will be at position 1, this will be at position 2. The same thing here, position 0, position 1, position 2. So what if I want to access number 8? What will be the position of number 8 using the rows and columns? This number, what will be, how will I access this number? this will be something like 0, 1, because in the rows it is at position 0, in the columns it is at position 1, meaning to access this number, this will be the case. So if I want to access, let me say number 4, this will be 1, comma, then 4. That's how I can access number 4 in this case. Being that this on the row it is at index 1, and the columns it is at index 2. So that's how you can access numbers in the multidimensional arrays. To explain a bit more further, just a multidimensional array is just a collection of arrays. It can be a collection of numbers, and it is grouped uh, into sectors, something like that. So this is how you can explain. This is how I can explain the multidimensional array. To access positions, we use rows and columns. Remember the indexes, we begin counting on the rows 0, 1, 2. Then on the columns, we do the same in this case. So that's how you can understand the multidimensional arrays. So let's go back to the code and we see how we can do this whole thing in the programming world. So I can first remove this. For those coding with me, this is really good because the goal here is to understand. So let's see this in Java. So I'll initialize my variable being int, and I'm going to give this a new variable name called nums. So remember, we are dealing with multi-dimensional arrays, meaning we are going to have an array, a big array, and the big array having the small arrays inside, or multiple arrays inside. Meaning before the single array, we used to represent this by one bracket, but in this case we are going to represent by two brackets. When you put two brackets, you are meaning that this is going to be a multi-dimensional array. So initialize in new. This is a multi-dimensional array of numbers, which is represented by integers. So I'll put the two brackets. So what does this mean? We are getting some issues. Variable must either be dimensional or an array initializer, meaning in this case we should specify how many rows we are going to have and how many columns we are going to have. So in the first box here, all the first curly brackets are represented by our rows. I'll put 3, meaning we are going to have 3 rows, and the second one I'll put 3. We are going to have 3 columns. This is the rows, this is representing the rows, and this is representing the columns, making this a 2D dimensional array. Hopefully I'm clear. So I'll come here down here. Let me print out this one. You see, automatically. Let me say nums, then print out nums. Let me say nums at position 1 and nums at position, let me say again 1, and we see what. Remember, in the single dimensional arrays, what Java does, it fills the arrays. If you have no numbers, it will fill the arrays with what? With zeros. So let me compile this. You see, Java dot Java compile. You will see that at position 1 we are getting 0, meaning our array is being filled with some zeros. So let me try to put some random numbers. So I'll use random. I don't want to insert one by one. I want to use Java gives us some utilities to use, and one of the utilities it assigns us with is the random. It can create a new instance, math.random, which is a function. It comes from the utilities. So I'll use this. I'll use this instance that I have created. So in this random function that I've created, it can generate as random numbers. Yeah, you can specify how many numbers do you want. We are going to see that in coming minutes. How many numbers do you want you to be generated? It will generate it for you. So being that we are dealing with arrays, I'll use a for loop to access the numbers here inside so that I can assign the random numbers. because there is no way that I can access these numbers without using a loop. There is a nice way that we can do that, but that will be in the coming videos. But for now, let us use loops. We look through the arrays, then we assign each position, we assign it with a new number. So I'll say random, for loop is equal to I is initialized at 0. So in this case, this will be I should be less or equal to the nums dot length. Yeah, so the nums dot length, I'm accessing each number into the array using the length. So if they are like 10, I'll be able to get the 10 elements into the array. So my loop will run, shouldn't exceed the length of the numbers. So in this case, it should be incrementing. So this is how we can do this. So now, being that I'm having this loop running through all the numbers in my array, I can do another for loop, and then the next loop that I'm going to do is that it is going to be running through all the single columns. Yeah, this loop here is going to run, and it is going to run on the rows, but I want to access even the columns. So I'll do for can use another variable which is equal to 0. Being I already have the big array, the big for loop, I can say j should be less to nums, which is at position, can access the single items using this variable that is going to be changing is I but length. So I can do something like this, and j is going to be incrementing. So this simply is going to be looping. The big loop is going to be looping through the numbers. So after looping through the numbers, the small array is going to be accessing each single number. So in this case, I can say call my nums. Remember, I have to generate some numbers inside. Call my nums. Remember, in the dimensional array, the first one I can give it I, representing the rows. Second one I can give it j, representing the columns. So I'm going to assign some random numbers inside. So I'll call my random object that I created. So on the random, they give you random the data types. Are you going to generate integers? Are you going to generate doubles? In this case, I'm going to generate integers. So in the integers, I'm going to generate, let me say, 10. Yeah, I'm going to generate 10 numbers each and every time. So this random function is going to generate 10 digits automatically. So that's how you can generate the random digits into your multidimensional array. So I can say system.print out. What am I printing out? I'm printing out nums, which is I, and nums, which is j, like this. So let us run and see. To explain this again, the first for loop is going to run all the numbers, but the most important thing is that we are going to get our rows. The second loop is going to run through the numbers using the length on the numbers that it was running through. So meaning we are going to be having our columns. So let me compile this and we see. Compile, then run. You see that we have successfully generated random numbers, but I don't want them in this raw format. What I can do is I can remove the print keyword, then I can put some space here like this. Yeah, so let me compile this, run. Yeah, you can see that we are printing numbers. We are printing numbers 2, 2, 8, 8, but I don't want this. I can do something like, what if I give this some space down here? What will happen? In this case, let me compile this and see. Compile then run. You can see that, yeah, we are successfully being given out our multi-dimensional array. the first position they generated that as for. So what if I want to generate like 2 digits? So I increase this random like 100, and we see on not one digit, a single digit. I want it to generate 2 digits each. You see that we have successfully, apart from one, but we have successfully generated 2 digits on each row and column. So that's how you can use the multi-dimensional array, or that's how you can create a multi-dimensional array, and that's how you can view a multi-dimensional array. You can use an enhanced for loop without using these nested for loops. We shall see that in the coming video, how to use the enhanced for loop, because the enhanced for loop is much more easier than the nested for loops. So that's how you can deal with the multi-dimensional array, and you can have a multi-dimensional array of strings, doubles, something like that. Yeah, that's it for today. Thank you. Generate random numbers using the math function. So I'll say random. I'll give it a variable called random is equal to